We can cross live to the conference centre now in Aviemore. Our commentator in the build-up to the speech is Tim Reid.
Alec is in the building.
Busy hall here in Aviemore for the party leader's speech, much as you would expect.
I can also tell you
the Deputy Leader, Nicola Sturgeon, is just about to listen. Introduce Alex Salmond. He is just waiting in the wings at the moment, and
I can tell you
we will have a listen to what Nicola Sturgeon has got to say. She's usually got some anecdotes about the First Minister.
Delegates, I'm going to let you into a wee secret. When we were coming up with the party's fantastic new election slogan, Scotland needs champions, we were initially just a wee bit worried, a wee bit concerned. You see, as a lifelong Hearts supporter, we weren't sure if the First Minister would get the concept of champion. But we decided to take the risk. Delegates, there is one thing that is completely beyond any doubt. Alex Salmond is a champion. He's a champion for us, and he is a real champion for Scotland. There is nobody who fights for Scotland, who stands up for Scotland, who delivers for Scotland like Alex Salmond does. We're proud of him. We're proud to have him as our leader. We are very proud to have him as Scotland's First Minister. So, delegates, please give a very warm welcome. Let's give a rousing welcome to our leader, to Scotland's First Minister, Alex Salmond.
So Alex Salmond on the stage there. I think it'd be very unusual if he didn't pay tribute to his one of his predecessors, at least. That's Billy Wolfe, the former leader who we know died, and his death was announced yesterday on the eve of this conference. But here's Alex Salmond.
Yes, Madam Deputy Leader, it is indeed a good job for you that Heart of Midlothian Football Club managed to win today. But just for that, I'm going to exclusively reveal to the nation who the MSP for Govan supports. Nicola Sturgeon supports the Sunny Govan radio station. Delegates, friends, on Thursday night we lost, indeed Scotland lost, a great spirit. Billy Wolfe was a good man, perhaps too good to be a politician, but he was an outstandingly successful politician, not in personal success in a parliamentary seat, but in the kind of success that really matters, in changing the course of the politics of an entire nation. Now, I visited Billy a couple of weeks ago in Hare Myers Hospital. We were talking about the February 1974 election, when he led the party to its first major general election breakthrough, and where he thought there were some strong lessons for us in the current position. I reminded him of advice he'd given me as a young lad in West Lothian, when he once told me that always remember that the Scottish National Party stands for two things: independence for Scotland and home rule for Bo'ness. We owe Billy a tremendous debt. He professionalised the party, enabled us for the first time to take on and beat the London parties. He realised long before the party as a whole accepted it that we needed a political identity as a party as well as further as a national movement. Everything that we have now, as a government, all the success, the strength we enjoy, all of the political opportunity we have, was built by people like Billy Wolfe. We are incredibly privileged as a political generation in the SNP. Many of you, indeed most of you, as candidates, as party workers, go into this election with a decent chance of winning. You know, the pundits say we can't win 20 seats. Of course we can. And the reason we have that opportunity is that we are standing on the shoulders of giants like Billy Wolfe. Delegates, just a few days ago at our general election launch, I did something very foolish and very brave. I risked the wrath of the Deputy First Minister. I made some less than glowing references to her favourite television show, The X Factor. It took me a few days to forgive me. Indeed, I'm not altogether sure I'm totally out of the woods as yet. But the point I was making, delegates, was a simple one. Whether it's for pop or politics, never ever take the people for granted. Now, you remember the story in the race for the Christmas #1. All the pundits thought the X Factor had the game sewn up. They had the slick PR, the prime-time television shows, they had everything going in their favour, until the people decided that they would have their say. They raged against the machine, and they won. Now, at this election, the London parties think they've got it all sewn up. They've tried to carve the SNP, indeed Scotland, out of their prime-time television debates. And the capitulation of the broadcasters in that stitch-up is a democratic disgrace, delegates. But London parties say even that the nation, Scotland, is going to be irrelevant to the outcome of the election. But you know, they've forgotten the most important thing. Elections aren't just won in the television studios. It isn't the pundits or the politicians who decide. They are won on the streets and the doorsteps in the new media. Friends, it's the people who will vote, the people who will decide. And on polling day, make no mistake, the people of Scotland will be heard, delegates. Now, of course, there's another reason that the London parties don't want the SNP in their leaders' debates. They know that we offer an alternative to the cosy consensus, a consensus on cuts that will see the pain inflicted this year, whether it's Cameron or Brown in number 10. The wrong cuts at the wrong time. That is their joint and foolish agenda. A cosy consensus on Trident. The extent of the disagreement between the Labour and Tory parties is whether we should have 3 new submarines or 4 new submarines in the River Clyde. But we say no nuclear submarines, no nuclear missiles, no weapons of mass destruction on the River Clyde. And then there's the consensus on nuclear power, on nuclear dumping, consensus on the deeply flawed proposals from the Salmond Commission, proposals that would see a 5p hike in income tax just to see Scotland's budget stand still. Tory and Labour agree on student fees, punishing taxes on fuel, post office privatisation, post office closures. Doesn't it sound like much of a debate that they're going to have? And friends, of course, they don't just want to silence the SNP. Their rules, the rules they have demanded, even silence the audience. There's to be no clapping and no cheering. I would have thought that's the most unnecessary rule in television history. They would have been better to ban the booing. The questions have to be submitted in advance. Friends, we've got plenty of questions that we would like the London parties to be made to answer. They can try to silence our arguments in the TV debates, but they won't silence the SNP working in the communities of Scotland. Let me tell our opponents one thing today. The reason that the SNP has seen the biggest increase in support of any party since the general election, not just in Scotland, but anywhere across these islands, that reason is simple. We, the SNP, are on the streets, the doorsteps, speaking to the people, listening to their concerns. We are working hard and hearing what they tell us. We are putting the voters where they should be, front and centre in this election campaign. And that's why more and more Scots will turn to the SNP as this campaign progresses. Friends, this election above all, is not for the pundits or the politicians. This election is for the people and the future of our nation. And the seats that we are working to win are not Labour seats or Liberal seats or even that solitary Tory seats. They're not even SNP seats. They are the people's seats, and we will never forget it.